Today we are going to make a classic French 75. So we're going to start with some gin, some lemon, and some simple syrup. I'm going to put the ice cubes in and I'm going to shake it up really good to make sure everything is well mixed. And then I'm going to pour it, and then finally I am going to top it off with some Prosecco. I was not playing games today. I wanted just the perfect classy drink to talk to you about Addie LaRue.
Boozy books. This is probably one of the first time I am actually really toasted. Usually I'll have like one drink before, but I was at an event earlier. I've had 3 drinks, so I'm definitely feeling it. So just go on the journey with me. So I'm actually very excited to review this book. This is the first book that I'm truly excited to review. Like, you guys have no idea. I love this book down, let me tell you. This book is 10/10, no notes. I almost didn't read this book because of you TikTok bitches. Like, how is you cool? Like, how did you read this book and hate it? I literally do not understand. Like, I cannot comprehend. My sober brain can't comprehend. My drunk brain cannot comprehend. Like, how do you read such a beautiful, tragic, lovely, whatever adjective you want to ascribe to this book? Like, how do you read this and not like it? I do not understand, and I will forever have beef with you guys. I just want you to know. I'm just gonna gush on this book for a little bit because I have not had a book that made me feel so many things as this book has. And I have heard people say, like, oh my god, I love this book so much, it made me feel all these things, it changed me as a person, like I couldn't stop crying, blah 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 blah. And I have read some of those books, but none of them has made me feel the things that this book has. And before I was like, y'all are cap, like there's no way. But now I'm like, okay, I get it, you guys are on to something. You guys hated this book, but the books that you were talking about, like, the feelings are valid. So I get it in that perspective. Like, this book changed me on a fundamental level. This book is an instant classic in my household. I will never stop talking about this book. Like, I literally, after I finished the book, I bought a physical copy of the book so I could have it in my collection back here. And so I can literally like whip it out and be like, let me tell you about our Lord and Savior, Addie LaRue. That's how much I absolutely love this book, and I've already kind of given it away. Today, we are talking about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The most beautiful book ever. Like, I do not have words, and I literally, I will not be checking any of the comments of what anybody has to say, because I literally don't give a fuck if you don't like this book, because I loved it. And that's truly all that matters. All the other books that I've reviewed before this, I'll listen to your criticism. But this one, there will be no criticism of Addie LaRue. So for this book, I chose a classic French 75. I was not gonna make any kind of crazy concoction. I was like, let me just give something tried and true and classic like this book. So we have a French 75. So go ahead, grab your drink. Let's get into The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm so excited to talk about this book with you guys. Okay, so Addie LaRue, she is just, I guess maybe your typical girl in the 1700s. I didn't live back then, so I don't know what the typical girl is, but she, I would say, is your typical girl. But she wanted more. She wanted more out of life. And she was just like, I don't want to live this boring ass life that has been presented in front of me. She's from some small podunk town in France, and she was just like, I don't want this. So like, she's about to get married to this guy, and she was just like, I don't want this. I don't want to die as I've lived. Like, I think she was like 22, 23, and she was just like nothing has happened in my life. Like, and then if I get married, you know, popping out babies, doing laundry, doing housework, like, I'm never going to truly live. She's like, I don't fucking want this life. So she calls on this guy, any guy really, to like help her. And so she has this, I'll call her a mentor, right? She has this mentor who's like an older lady. And basically this lady is like, hey, you can call on the new guys or old guys, but do not pray to the guys who answer at dark. And so because she was about to get married, Addie was kind of like distraught. She wasn't paying attention to what time it was. She did not see the sun like sinking into the sky. She didn't know what was going on. She was just like, get me out of this shit. So a God answers, and she's basically like, hey, I want to live my life for me. I don't want to be tethered to anybody. I want to be free. Like, I really want to know what it means to live. I just want to be free. I don't all this shit you see, 1700s France, okay? She's like, all this shit, no, I don't want this. And so the guy answered, and he was like, okay, cool. For how long? And she was just like, do I need a time limit? He's like, yeah. And she's like, okay, forever. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, I you don't get a time limit, just until I get tired, basically. So the guy answers. And so he's just like, okay, cool. Here you go. You are free. As soon as he does this, everybody fucking forgets about her. Like, nobody remembers her. She's like, she goes to her house. She's like talking to her mom. And she's like trying to talk to her dad. And they're like, who the fuck are you? Like, get the fuck out of our house. And so they kick her out. Then she goes to her like mentor. And she's like, hey, I need help. Like, what the fuck? And the mentor's like, bitch, who are you? And then she says something like, are you, she's like, are you a stranger? Are you a god? Are you a trickster or something like this? She's like, what? Like, don't you know? Like, literally, we just talked. And she's like, no, bitch, I don't know you. So, like, somehow she, like, convinced her that, like, hey, this is what happened. The bitch was like, bitch, you were dumb. Like, I told you not to talk. Well, she didn't say I told you because she didn't remember. But she was just like, yeah, you are a dumb bitch. Like, why would you do a deal with, I'm going to say the devil, right? Why would you do a deal with the devil? And so, like, but she was like, hey, I'm going to go, like, you know, get some stuff for you. Like, I feel bad for you. Like, I'm going to try to help you out. As soon as she closed the door, she forgets, right? She knocks again. And the lady's looking at her and like, who are you? So like, nobody remembers her, right? Nobody knows who the fuck she is. That's why it's called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Like, bitch, you wanted to be untethered? You are like, you are literally untethered, right? So we kind of just like go through, we follow her through like all of these years, centuries, generations of her like living life. And we just kind of like see how she copes with never being remembered. So initially, when I was like listening to this book, I was like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Nobody remembers you. Like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but like, if you get to live forever, as soon as someone turns their back, they don't forget about you. Like, all the shit you could take. And so I was just like, bitch, I'm gonna be rich. But of course, like, this guy, like, she can't write her name, she can't say her name, and she can't like hold possessions outside of like one thing. There's like one thing that she can hold on to, but nothing else. And it's the thing that he chose for her, essentially. So I was just like, oh man, that's kind of fucked up. Like, if I lived forever and nobody remembered me and I was poor, I would be mad as fuck. And the other thing is, like, she can't die. Like, if something happens to her, like, she feels it, she can suffer. But like, after a couple hours or minutes, it just like reverses and she's like fine. I was just like, that's fucking low. That's fucking evil as shit. So anyway, like, we kind of like fast forward to like kind of like present day. I think it's like 2014, which is like, oh my god, just 10 years ago at this point. So she like meets this guy. She's like at this bookstore. She steals a book and she like takes off, right? She isn't worried about it because like literally nobody remembers her. And so like she takes the book, she like reads it, she's done with it. She was like, well, you know, let me see if I can trade this shit in. She goes back to the bookstore and she was like, hey, my friend bought this book, blah 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 blah. And the guy was like, bitch, you were just in here, you sold us a book, so no. And she's like, wait a minute, what? Addie was born in the 1700s. It is now 2014. This is the first person who has ever remembered her. So Addie is shook, okay? My girl is like, what? So anyways, she's like, oh my god, like, you know, I'm so sorry, let me buy you a drink. And so she buys him a drink because she's trying to like figure out like, why the fuck do you remember me? Anyway, so like fast forward, and so we come to find out like, why does he actually remember her? And Kind of found out this guy, his name's Henry, by the way, he actually made a deal with the devil too. So she made a deal with the devil, he made a deal with the devil. And I'm calling this God the devil because you can argue that maybe he is the devil. She does name him Lucian or Lucifer, but she calls him Luke. You know, that's the devil's name. Is he truly the devil? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys. I'm just like, anyway. So come find out, he made a deal. She made a deal. So her deal was obviously she wants to live untethered for forever, or until she gets tired and wants to give her soul over to Luke. His deal was he wanted to be loved. Like, apparently nobody thought he was good enough. He was always just like par. I'm getting like mediocre white male vibes from him, right? So he's just like, I just want to be loved for who I am. So his curse essentially is like, everybody who meets him, they see what they want and they're like enamored by him. They're like captivated by him, but it's not real. So like, he feels loved, he feels wanted, but it's not real. It's based off of what they want, not necessarily what he wants. So he realizes that like, she's not like this. So because their eyes like frost over or whatever, but her eyes aren't. So he gets what he wants. He gets somebody to see him for what he is, and you know, to love him for who he is, and she gets someone who remembers her, right? And we kind of just like follow their love story of them getting to know each other and falling in love. Anyway, so like at some point, I don't remember when, but at some point we find out that Henry, that's the guy that remembers her, he ain't got long, baby. He got like weeks to live. And she's like, what the fuck? And she's like, wait a minute. Because he told her, she was like, how long is your deal for? He said a lifetime. A lifetime can be a day, 5 days, 10 years, whatever. She's like, this is fishy. Anyway, she finds out that his deal is only for a year. So at this point, his year is probably like 60% over. So she's trying to figure out like how to save him. And so she basically like calls out to Luke, and she's like, hey, you know, like, you need to save him. Like, this deal isn't fair. And he's like, well, he made the deal. Like, he's like, who are you to tell me this deal isn't fair? This is what he agreed. He did not have to do this. He did. So basically it was just like, you know, if you, well, I won't say it's like if you love me, if you care about me, but it's kind of like if you care about me, like, you'll get him out of this deal. So what we learn is that her and Luke obviously have some history. It's been like 300 fucking years. First, Luke didn't like her. He thought she was like, you know, a dumbass girl from a small French town, you know, a greedy ass girl. And then over like the years, like, he kind of softens to her, right? And we find out that they eventually become lovers, which I was a little surprised by, but not like totally surprised. I was like, I can see it. If you gotta come meeting up with somebody year after year after year, I mean, you know, even the ugliest person has some redeemable qualities. So anyway, so like they end up becoming lovers, and more than lovers, like she falls in love with him, and I believe he falls in love with her. There's some debate about that. It gets to the point where he like buys her a house. He can't hold on to anything. So she doesn't have a home. She doesn't have money. She doesn't have possessions. Everything just kind of goes away. But he gets her a house and basically is like, hey, you can come back here whenever you want. Like, this is yours. And it's like the 1980s or something. Anyway, so like they get into this fight because she's like, you don't know what it means to love. You're not capable of love, blah, 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 blah. They get into a fight. They burn the fucking house down. And I think that's like the last time she saw him. I don't know. Maybe she saw him after. I don't know. That's like the last time she saw him. And she's been mad at him or like forgetting about him until she met Henry. And then like she's reminded of him. All that to say, that whole journey just kind of, I think, shows us that Luke is capable of feelings. Like, he's a guy, but like maybe he has some humanity in him. Anyways, whatever. So while she's trying to like save Henry, he's like, hey, spend the night with me. You know, like, let's like have like a night like we used to, blah, 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 blah. The night turns into like 6 days. So she comes back and she realized like a whole week has passed. At this point, Henry got like 10 days to live or some bullshit like that. So anyway, she's back with Henry. Then one day she goes away at night, and Henry like notices, but he's sleeping, so he doesn't really know. And so she like finds the devil, and she's like, "Hey, you gotta save this man." And he's just like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I'm not talking about his deal. I'm talking about my deal, because back when Luke was like in love with her, he said, I cannot like cancel a deal. Like that's not how it works. You know, like laws of nature. This is like this, right? But you can modify." Okay. So she comes back and she's like, "All right, I want to modify my deal." And basically she trades her soul for Henry's life. Which, you know, how do I feel about this? I'm not too keen on a woman like giving up her soul for a guy, but also like she's lived like 300 fucking, like, bitch, you seen enough. Let Henry live. Because Henry, even though he gives like mediocre white guy, I also can like understand like never feeling appreciated, never feeling loved, never feeling good enough. So it's just like, you know, Henry, live out the rest of your days. Hopefully you found what you're looking for, boy. Anyway, so she trades her soul for his life, whatever, right? She doesn't tell him. This whole time Henry thinks he's gonna die. So like the last day that they're together, he's like counting down the minutes, and then the minute passed, or before the minute passed, she's like talking to him. Henry's like off in his mind. She's like, "Hey, you need to listen." And he's like, "What?" She's like, "You promised to listen." He's like, "Okay, bitch, I'm listening." She's like, "You need to write down how the story ends." And he's like, "What?" So back up. Since Henry remembers her, she is like, "Hey, like, let me tell you my story." Henry writes down her story, right? Henry writes her name. Henry writes her story. So like her whole thing is, I want to like make an impression. I want to make an impact. I want to leave my mark. Since nobody remembers her, I want to leave my mark. So the devil told her a long time ago, he was like, ideas last longer than the truth, or some bullshit like that. Basically he's saying like, if you can implant the idea into a person, and then it can turn into something else. So like she could never say her name, right? But if she plants the idea of who she is, then somebody can run with that. So we kind of like see throughout the book, there have been like artists who, they don't mention her by name, but like they draw like her profile or her likeness or something about her, right? So like she has like pieces throughout history that feature her. So she's not completely unknown, but still kind of unknown. And so with this, with Henry writing her story, it is an idea, but it's more than an idea because it's her name, right? So Henry's like filling up all these notebooks about her life. And so she's like, "Hey, you need to finish the story." And he's like, "But I'm about to die." Like, what are you talking about, right? And she's like, "No." Sorry, this is actually this is probably my favorite drink that I made. And she's like, "No, you're not about to die. I traded my life for yours." He's like, "What?" Then Luke comes in and sweeps her away. And then the next moment, Henry wakes up. He's like, "Where the fuck is this bitch at?" And he's like, "Oh shit, she's gone." And he thinks like all her shit's gonna be gone because like, you know, that's kind of like the nature of the deal, right? She goes, all her shit goes, but her books are like, well, her notebooks are still there. So eventually like he puts it into a manuscript and he makes it into a book. So it's like a novel. I'm gonna say it's a best-selling novel because it's like all around the world, whatever. And then at some point, I think like she's in London and these girls are at a bookstore and they're saying her name, Addie LaRue, Addie LaRue, Addie LaRue. And she sees her name on the cover, Addie LaRue. And he did something where like he didn't put his name on there. He just put her name just so like it's her. But y'all, wait, let me finish the story. So, you know, she picks it up and she sees her name and she's like so happy. She's like, "I fucking did it." And then like Luke comes up and he's just like, "Oh, you're like such a clever girl." When she traded her soul for Henry's life, she basically didn't say like, "My soul is yours forever." She says, "My soul is yours until you're tired of me." Semantics, right? Words mean things. And so she was just like, this is clever because Luke is not capable of love. And at some point he's going to get tired of me and he's going to have to give my soul away. He's going to, you know, he's going to be done with him. And so anyways, that's the end of the book. But let me tell you guys, the book, I think it was like when she saw the book, she opened it and a dedication just said, "I remember you." I cried. I sobbed. I was just like, oh my god, he remembers her. Oh god, it was so sweet. So obviously I'm a little subsidious. So like I don't know that the feelings, like how much this book meant to me is like showing through, but it was so good. Doing a deep dive on this book, which I don't normally do because normally the books aren't that deep. But this one, there was so much. So one of the things, I was like reading reviews, which I tend to do after I read a book, and I actually felt good because the reviews agree with me. So one of the reviews I read said something along the lines of like, Addie does not think that Luke is capable of love, but the deal that they made is actually contingent on Luke like having character, having a soul. So basically Luke gets to keep Addie as long as he is true to his word, right? As long as Henry lives, as long as like he lets her go when he's tired of her. Well, essentially, like, if Luke keeps his word, he gets to keep Addie forever. But if Luke ever goes against his word, like if Henry dies or whatever, he loses her soul. I actually thought that was so interesting because it's like, you know, does a God have humanity? Like, is humanity found within a God? Does a God have a soul? And then it kind of makes you wonder, does Luke have feelings? Is Luke capable of love? Is Luke capable of being an honest person? Because he's kind of like a tricky God, right? My response to that is how I interpreted it. Luke truly cares for Addie. Luke could have been a fucking douche. Like, Luke could have made Henry forget her. Luke could have went back on his word. Like, Luke was basically like, hey, call me when you want me. You know, call me when you need me. And Luke was saying something like, I'm here with you more than you think I am. So in my mind, like, Luke really does love her. He cares about her. Does he have a weird way of showing it? Maybe, but he's also a God, and like, as humans, like, what do we know about God? So I just think like there were a lot of ways that Luke could have been so awful. Like, he was toxic, but he could have been more toxic. He could have made Addie hate him, right? Like, and what would that have meant to him? Like, of all the people who are calling on him, trying to make deals with him. So when I read that little piece, I was just like, that's very interesting. Like, I feel like he will keep Addie forever because I feel like he really cares about her. He knows that she cares about this person. I don't think he would do anything to jeopardize that. But that's just what I think. Also, you have Addie, right? She is or was human. She's lived all these years. She's had all these bad things happen to her. I think it's natural that she would be jaded, suspicious, have trust issues. And I think like some people find her unlikable because of that. But like, for me, I was like, I get it. As someone who has been on this earth for 30 plus years, I didn't get 300 years to get to where she is. I'm suspicious of people immediately. So for me, like, that made her relatable. Like, I understand like why she's trying to be a little conniving and trick the guy, because she has been tricked herself, right? To me, that makes sense. I get it. But I think this is a standalone book, right? I don't know. But in my mind, I could see her in the future softening up, like really leaning into Luke. Because again, I don't think that Luke is a bad guy. I don't. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think he's fine. I think he has a weird way of showing things, but also he's not human. So like, why we expect him to act in human ways? I also think this book does such a good job of making people relatable and making human desires relatable, right? Because I think everyone has this desire to be seen, to be heard, to be known, to be loved, to be remembered. I think those are like some basic human desires or needs that we all have. And when that's taken away, you really have to question your humanity. And as I was reading this, I was just reminded of like, oh my God, how important is it to develop these connections, to have people that you can lean on and trust, and to wake up every day and know that other people know you. Then there's also, and this was a big one for me because it's never been something that's important to me, but now I'm just like, we need to work on this, okay? How important your name is. Some people say it's just a name, but now I'm just like, I was gifted my name, and how wonderful it is to have this name, to have people know me as this name. It's not just a name, it is intrinsically tied into who I am as a person. So at this point, I'm just like, you know, if someone messes up my name, I'm going to immediately correct them and like, no, that is not my name. This is my name. Like, get it right. Before, I'd be like, oh no, it's okay. Like, this is my name, but it's totally fine. No more. Because Addie lived without hearing her name for like 300 years. Lived without being able to say her name. And I don't know why, but that just touched me so much. Most of us, when we're asked, like, who are you? We say, I am my name. What a gift it is to have a name, to have something that is yours, to have people know you as that. It was just, I'm like, I promise not to cry. I have a rule about crying on camera, so I promise not to cry. But I was just like, actually, that is just so beautiful. So from now on, if you mess up my name, I will correct you. I will 100% correct you, and I will not feel any shame about it. We also have themes of self-love, self-respect, self-esteem, how you should live a life worth living, how you should not want to die as you've lived if you haven't lived a life worth living. And if you feel like you haven't lived a life worth living, then you can change that. You don't have to make a deal with the devil. You can just say, I don't want to live this life anymore. This doesn't suit my needs. This is not for me. I can change. If you live an ordinary life, if you live an honest life, you don't have to have a glamorous life to be important, to be remembered, to be loved. That doesn't have to exist. You can be whoever you want to be. No matter how long you're gifted to be on this earth, it might never be enough. You have Addie who can live forever, and I think it would never be enough for her. You have Henry who only had a year, and I think at the point that we met him a few months, it wasn't enough. Like, cherish the life that you have. It will never be enough. You will always want one more day, one more minute, one more hour. But if you cherish the time that you have, like, once you leave this world, hopefully you're proud of what you did, of the contributions that you made, of the life that you lived. But time is too short. And don't count your life in minutes or hours. Like, just enjoy the moment. Oh my God, there's just like, there is so much. I was just like, wow, this really makes me appreciate life. And I think for me, this book could not have come at a better time, because I have really been struggling with, what is my purpose? Like, what do I do? Like, what is enough? And then, like, with capitalism, like, how do I get out of this hamster wheel? How do I live a meaningful, purposeful life? And this book just, I mean, it didn't really answer the question for me, but it definitely put life into a different perspective. So, like, when I go forth and I'm trying to figure these things out, I have this in the back of my head where it's just like, even if you don't figure it out, like, you're still living a life that's worth living, and be thankful for that. Oh my God, this book just means so much to me. I'm kind of embarrassed about like how deeply this book made me feel just about life and living. And I'm someone who has always just enjoyed life, but this has took it to another level for me. And I hope that you read it. And even if you feel like a fraction of what I felt, then I would be happy. And again, I'm so mad at you, book talk bitches, because how could you hate this book? How could you have one bad thing to say about this book? It is just, it's beautifully written. I don't even know what else to say. Like, other than this is it. Like, this is the end. Like I said, instant classic. I will read this again. The hard copy will be somewhere on this bookshelf in the very near future. I will never stop talking about this book. I will never stop thinking about this book. I will never get over the things that this book has made me feel. Wow. Sorry, that like going through this and just kind of like reliving all those feelings is tough. And you get to see it real time here. This has been Boozy Books. Join me next week as we go over books worth sipping over.